Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. I'm so excited tonight. I'm Claudia Cochran, in case this is your first time with us at our book club. I'm the founder of Long Island Lit Fest, and we bring best-selling authors to audiences for live and virtual talks. And I'm thrilled to be here tonight for our third installment of the Celebrations Book Club by Cheryl's Cookies. Cheryl's Cookies is part of the family of brands of 1-800-Flowers.com, and it was founded about 40 years ago, and it's known for their amazing handcrafted buttercream frosted cookies, and they use amazing wholesome ingredients. So everyone who is here tonight should have received their free cookie sampler when signing up for the event. I've received mine, and we know that Janet Evanovich has received hers as well, and we heard that she loves them. So before we begin our conversation, just a couple of things. A few housekeeping items. I'm going to talk to Janet for a little while, and then Zoe from Cheryl's team is going to help us and call on you during the Q&A, so you can talk to Janet directly. And for the best book club experience, please be sure that you're on mute and set your Zoom to gallery mode so that, and turn on your camera so that we can see all of you, so we feel like we're in a regular book club. And during the Q&A, raise your emoji hand or type in a question in the sidebar as well, and Zoe will be sure to call on you, as many of you as possible, given the time. And now to our chat. Over the last 25 years, Janet Evanovich has written a staggering 27 #1 New York Times bestsellers in the Stephanie Plum series. In addition to the Plum novels, Janet has co-written the New York Times best-selling Fox and O'Hare series, including The Big Kahuna with Peter Evanovich, the Night and Moon novels, the Lizzie and Diesel series, the Alexandra Barnaby novels, and she co-authored a graphic novel, Troublemaker, with her daughter, Alex. Welcome to our book club, Janet. We're so happy that you're here.
Thank you. This is fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of us here who are big fans of yours.
Yeah, I can't believe I wrote all those books. When I hear you rattling them off, I'm like, how did I?
It's pretty amazing. So for anyone here who is new to the Janet Evanovich reading experience, can you tell us a little bit about how you got your start as a novelist?
Late in life, I was always the kid that could draw. And when I went to college, I majored in fine arts. I was a painter. And then I got married, had a couple kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom. Painting just wasn't really doing it for me anymore. And I realized that what I liked about painting was I was always telling myself stories about the things I was painting. And I thought maybe that's where I should be. And I had a lot of issues with the painting. I would break out from the pigment, and and the communication is very vague with a painting. And so and we were sort of struggling. My husband was a grad student at the time, and so I thought, well, you know what I'll do? I'll write a book, and they'll make it into a movie, and I'll be rich and famous. And yeah, and then 30 years later I was. So
yeah.
But I started writing, and I was unpublished for 10 years. I just kept trying to learn the craft and sending things out and trying to learn about the business of writing, how you get an agent, what is the process, what do I have to do, how can I get better, and finally moved into romance, because that was what I was reading. I was a mom, I was a wife, and I was a big romance fan. And so that was where I first got published, was in the little category of romances. And I did 12 of those books in, I think, something like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And it was like that Mickey Spillane thing. They asked him, how long does it take you to write a book? And he said, how bad do I need the money? And it was sort of that with me writing romance novels. And then I realized I was sort of in the wrong place, and wanted to have more action, less less romance, I kind of like the sex part, but I didn't like all of the prolonged relationship romance. I love the characters, the positiveness of romance. I love the romance readers. They were just the best. And so eventually took a year off and decided to regroup and retool, and ended up with Stephanie Plum.
And here we are.
Yeah.
So just can you talk a little bit about what your writing process is like? Do you plot out every novel in advance? Or do you work on the fly? How do you do it?
It's sort of a combination of that, and it's evolved over the years. I used to spend a lot more time on several edits of the book, while I was still learning my craft and trying to figure out where my voice was as a writer, which is, really critical. But now when I start a new book, if it's a Plum, I mean, I already know a lot of things about it. So I don't have the startup process that I do when I'm starting a new series like Gabrielle Rose. I mean, that was, it's a little different, but I work with a steno pad, and I just take some notes. And I take notes so that I always know the beginning of the book and the end of the book. I know what I'm going to try to accomplish with the relationships within that book, how much growth I'm going to have in those relationships, how much growth I'm going to have in my individual characters. I know several plot points in the book. I know what the crime is going to be. I know what is going to be driving the book. And then that's really my basic outline, which is more like a storyboard. It's more like what screenwriters do. And I pretty much write in 3 acts, like a screenplay. So I organize myself like that, and then I just start writing. And when I go to bed at night, I have my steno pad with me, and I take notes on what I did that day. And then I take notes on where I want to go tomorrow, or maybe 2 days ahead. And somehow, when I do that before I go to sleep, while I'm sleeping, it all kind of goes around in the big stew pot of my head and comes out in the morning. I have a whole lot of ideas about where I'm going to go.
And then do you have a strict writing schedule? What's that process like? Do you write every single day for like at a specific time, or how do you work that?
Yeah, I have no life. I just write. I'm the world's most boring person, because
it takes so much discipline though to do that. It's incredible.
It doesn't feel like it. I
Really?
love what I do. I love getting up, and I mean, the best part is in the morning. I wake up early. I wake up at, like maybe 5:30. And I go down and I get coffee with my little dog, and I let him out to tinkle. And then we go back up to my office, and I get to go into this new world. I get to go into the world of Plum, or I just started this new series that I absolutely love. I love the characters in it.
A recovery agent?
Yeah, recovery agent with Gabrielle.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later on.
Yeah, and I'm getting to learn all of these characters and the auxiliary characters. And
I'm sorry. Yeah, everybody, please put yourselves on mute. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Yeah, so the mornings are wonderful because I have new ideas, and I'm excited about being there. And my dog Ollie, is happy. He's napping alongside of me. And then, I break for lunch and I come back, and then I have no more ideas. But I need to make more pages. So, because I work on a deadline. I mean, I have a contract to write books, and people expect there to be a Plum that comes out every November now. And so if I want to squeeze another book in there, because that is fun for me, just to be able to vacation from Stephanie once in a while, I have to keep on schedule. So I write every day. Sometimes I only write for a couple hours if I, need to do some shopping therapy. I take time out to go for a walk, with Ollie. But I like the continuity. I like writing every day, even if it's just for a couple hours. But usually I'll put in 8, 9 hours, not necessarily writing, but thinking. I mean, I think for an hour and a half, and then I type 4 sentences. So.
But that's part of the process, right?
It is. I'm not fast. I'm not a fast writer. I mean, I need to put my time in, and really think about, where I'm going. Transitions. I think transitions are critical because that's what makes the reading easy for the reader. And I don't think people should have to work hard to read a book. I think you should be able to just fly through a book and enjoy it. And so when you're creating a book like that, it actually is hard work because you have to make sure that everything is concise and clear and you're not rambling. And as you can see from this interview, I tend to ramble once I get thinking, it's like I can't stop.
This is great. Let's talk about Stephanie Plum. How did she come about? What was the inspiration for this character?
I had been doing romance and I had been really writing them quickly. I wasn't making a lot of money and my kids were in college and we needed money, and they were short. And so I had all of these different heroines that I couldn't keep them straight after a while. So I decided I wanted to do a series. I wanted to stick with my characters. And I thought if I do that, the way to make it real and consistent is to put a lot of my own history there, write about somebody that I know. So, I mean, I'm not Stephanie Plum, but she shares a lot of my history. I know what's going on in her head.
What kind of history does she share with you?
We went to the same college, Douglas College, which is part of Rutgers, the state school in New Jersey. We're both have blue collar backgrounds. My dad worked in a factory. Her dad worked in the post office. She's got a stay-at-home mom. I had a stay-at-home mom. She has one sister. I had one sister. She was a baton twirler in high school. I was too. I mean, I was a terrible twirler, but I could really strut. So, I think that growing up, we shared a lot of the same characteristics. Although later in life, I think she's a lot braver than I am. I think she, she certainly has a lot of luck with men. I did too, but I married the man that I had luck with, and we've been married for over 50 years. So, so I sort of live vicariously through her now with Ranger and Joe Morelli and all of my other heroines.
How fun to get to do that, right?
It is. It's it's the world. And when you write a book, you create a world, and then
Right.
you have the privilege of going into that world. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm schizophrenic or something, or I think that the world is real. I'm aware that it's not. But you are there creating this fantasy, not only for your readers but for yourself, and it's fun.
Well, let's talk about Game On then. I'm hoping everybody here has read it already, but for those who maybe haven't, can you give us a brief summary of the book?
Yeah, I have some things written down here because I actually have sort of a small head with limited capacity. So when I'm done with a book, I dump it so that I can start another book. And so then people ask me all these questions about my my backlist, and I have no idea, right? No clue.
Okay.
So anyway, this is about a cyber criminal. She's after a cyber criminal. And one of the things that I loved about this book was that I brought Diesel into it. I love Diesel. Diesel is one of my favorite characters. And I sort of ran out of time to do the Wicked series. I've always wanted to do more of the Wicked series. and I could never just squash it into my writing schedule. So every now and then I bring Diesel in. And in this book, he's there the whole book. I mean, he really is a partner with Stephanie. And they're after the same bad guy. And she's not really sure if he's working with her or against her. Because, you know, after all, he is Diesel, this big, sexy, scruffy, you know, guy that you're not really sure about. So they're after a cyber criminal. His name is Oswald Wednesday. And I have some auxiliary characters that I love in this. There's a group of people working in the cyber world, and their little club is called the Baked Potatoes. And they have lurked in on the bad guy, and he is now out to eliminate them one by one. So there's a lot at stake in the book. There's a lot of fun between Stephanie and Diesel. I have a little romance going between two of the Baked Potatoes, Charlotte and Melvin, which I think was one of my favorite parts of the book, because I think
heroes.
Pardon?
The heroes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, they end up being the heroes, and because there's a nice twist at the end of the book, how it ends. So that's you know, that's what I have written down about my book. And if you read the back of it, you'll know what it's all about.
How much research was involved into the hacking world?
A certain amount. You know, usually with the Plums, I don't do a lot of research anymore because I did so much in the beginning. I hung out with the cops in Trenton. I learned how to shoot a gun. You know, I walked around with pepper spray. I already knew Trenton because I'm a Jersey girl. So I'd sort of, you know, gotten out of the habit of doing research. But with this book, I did have to do a certain amount. But there's a lot in the news lately about cybercrime, and
Right.
so it was pretty current. It was interesting research, and I hope, you know, who knows what I've gotten wrong, but anyway, did the best I could.
Yeah, no, it was pretty thorough. I mean, that is, it did call back to what's happening in the headlines for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about family, Stephanie's family, who is so important to her. Talk about that. Is family important to you as well? And that's why you integrate it so much in the books?
Yeah, I think of myself as an entertainer. And when I read a book, I like to learn something or to be entertained, but I don't like being preached to. I think as authors, we all have an agenda. We all have things that are important to us. We all have things that we want to pass on to the reader. And family is one of mine. I think that if it becomes super obvious that you have a cause, then I think you sort of, you know, have failed a little bit. So as best I can, I try to make it just, you know, an integral part of the story, because this is the life. This is the lives of people who live in the burg. And so family is important. And that includes, you know, not just her core family, but her work family, her neighborhood family, the family that she's acquired as a bounty hunter. I think all of these relationships are critical. And especially now, because we've all been walking around with masks, keeping our distance, and we have not had that relationship that I think is so important, you know, to human beings. So I hadn't really thought about it quite as much as I have in the last couple of years when we've been deprived of it. But it's always been important to me. I think, you know, that's why I'm actually sitting here in Hawaii because my son lives in Hawaii and I have 2 grandchildren. So I had to buy the grandma condo. And fortunately, as a writer, I can do my craft wherever I want. So I
Right.
spend 3 or 4 months in Hawaii every year. It's a real hardship, right? I'm sitting here with the palm trees in the background, and but it's important. And then I go back to my daughter's family in North Carolina, and I spend the rest of my time with them, and some time in New Jersey with that part of the family. But I think it's a very important thing. And I'm lucky that I have this great family, and we all work together. I mean, we used to be like a little herd. We used to all live in the same neighborhood, and we would all have lunch together. And then for a variety of reasons, we kind of migrated apart. And so now we have to make a little bit more of an effort, but we still work together, and FaceTime, every day. And because they're part of, the Evanovich empire. They're my first editors. My daughter is the communicator with my publisher, with my agent, with all of the publicity that I do, with all of the social that we do. So it's it's important.
Well, it's really lovely to hear that you work with your family. And as a grandparent, I'm sure you get a lot of fan mail about the grandmother in the Stephanie Plum books. How do you keep her so vibrant and cool and fun?
I know her really well. She's a combination of my grandma Fanny and my Aunt Lena.
Oh,
And who have, of course, passed by now. But those were two women who were so important in my life, and they had a profound influence on me. And then, oddly enough, when One for the Money movie was made, and I had nothing to do with that movie until after it was made, I went to see it. I went to, they did a showing for me, and they had Debbie Reynolds in there as grandma, who was totally different than the grandma I created. And I thought, oh my God, that's who grandma should have been. Because I started this series, about 100 years ago, and things change. People are younger at older ages. Their lives stay more vibrant. And I just thought Debbie Reynolds was amazing as grandma. So I've been moving grandma over to Debbie Reynolds a little bit. So now grandma is not only my grandma Fanny and my Aunt Lena, but she's also Debbie Reynolds.
so you're gonna have to make her sing and tap
Yes.
dance.
Oh, the musical. We could do the musical.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if Stephanie Plum was going to be, if there was going to be a series based on her, do you ever envision any particular actresses playing her?
Well, yeah, except that it's dragged on for so long now that, the actresses have all moved on, have gotten, and gotten old. And so right now, I don't think that I have anybody in mind right now. I mean, Sandra Bullock was, for years and years, the person that I thought would be just perfect. And then there was the woman who starred in that a cappella movie. I can never remember her name.
A cappella?
Yeah,
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
the singers.
Yes, I know who she is.
Anna Kendrick.
Yes,
Yeah,
Anna
yes,
Kendrick.
yes.
Kendrick.
I thought she would be perfect. I really did. But we just haven't been able to, nobody's come forward on it. And because then we could really do Stephanie Plum, the musical, if we had Anna Kendrick.
There you go.
Yeah.
Find a different but Debbie Reynolds type now, though, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
we could find somebody.
We could do it. I know we
That
could do
sounds
it.
intriguing.
Yeah.
Who would play Joe?
Yeah, tell them we want it.
So who are some of your favorite writers?
That's always a hard question because I don't do a lot of fiction reading anymore. I can't read somebody else's work and concentrate on my own. When I read a book, if it's a good book, I lose myself in it, and I go to bed at night thinking about thinking about that book. And then I wake up in the morning and I have no ideas for Stephanie Plum. So I don't do a lot of reading. I used to love the Bosch series. Michael Connolly was one of my favorites. But anymore, I read cookbooks, and I like nonfiction. I don't cook. I'm, but I'm, all about food porn. I like cookbooks. I spend all kinds of money on food magazines, and never cook any of the recipes. But
good enough for me. I guess it's a departure from, the world of thriller writing. It's a whole different thing.
It is. It doesn't affect what I do. And I'm a television watcher. I like I was totally hooked on Bridgerton. I mean, who would be, right?
Yeah.
It's all, show me a hot guy, I'm there.
Books are better. Bridgerton books are better.
I haven't read the books.
Well, we're going to start soon with letting everybody, because I know everybody's so anxious to talk to you. And I see Lou, well, we'll get to that. But before we get to everybody's questions and comments, let's talk a little bit about your next series, which is called The Recovery Agent. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's about this daredevil heroine who's found out that she's very good at finding things. And her name is Gabriella Rose. She's in many ways the opposite of Stephanie. She's a gourmet cook. She's kind of a fashionista. She's very brave. And although I think that Stephanie is very brave as well. She's very good at what she does, and she's made a certain amount of money. She has a condo in a good section of New York. She travels all over the world finding things, people, working for insurance companies, working to find lost treasure. She's actually related to Blackbeard, and you can see sort of this pirate blood, this thirst for adventure running through her. And as it turns out, she married her high school sweetheart, didn't work out, got a very contentious divorce, and made the mistake of giving him a house in the islands, in the Barbados, that belonged to one of her relatives. And the house now turns out to have a treasure chest filled with pirate maps. So this story is now about her, and a lot is at stake. It turns out she needs money very badly, and I don't want to give a whole lot away about the book, but she needs money very badly. And she's been told that there is this diary, Francis Drake's diary, which will lead her to a lot of treasure. But of course, it's in the ex's house. So now we have her paired up with this ex-husband, who is in his own right, a big, sexy, fun guy. I think they both were at fault in the marriage. Maybe they both have feelings for each other still, but they are thrown together, going off trying to find this treasure. And it takes them to all the places that Stephanie Plum never goes. They go to Peru. They go to, I had to make a list of it here because she lives in New York City. The treasure is in the jungles of Peru. They end up in Costa Rica in Drake's Bay, doing scuba diving, going through lava tubes. The really horrible bad guy has a hacienda in Santa Barbara, and that's pretty much where the story ends up. And so I got to go to all of I got out of the phone booth, I got out of the closet of being in Stephanie Plum's world. And it's really like an Indiana Jones kind of adventure story. It's much more adventure than Stephanie is kind of mystery, and she has her job and she goes after the bad guys. But this is a quest, to find the treasure.
Well, it sounds really intriguing. I can't wait to read it. It's coming out in March.
March 22nd.
March 22nd, The Recovery Agent. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I think you're able to pre-order now.
Perfect.
And yeah, so I had a lot of fun writing it. I'm looking forward to doing another one. So I hope everybody else enjoys it too. I think, it kind of opened my world up a little bit. But what I really liked were the characters. I just got to, the more that I work with them, the better I like them. And I like the tension. I like the kind of relationship that developed between these two people who had this long-standing relationship, I guess, sort of like Stephanie and Joe Morelli. But maybe a little bit, more intense and more committed, and then more hostile. So, and in many ways, I think that that the guy reminds me of Diesel. I wanted to do sort of another big, sexy, scruffy Diesel character, and so I think that's who this guy is. A little bit.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that one. And Zoe, are we ready to open it up for questions for Janet?
Yes, we are. So you guys just raised your hand on the icon on Zoom. We will go with Patty first.
Hi, Patty.
Patty, you have to unmute yourself.
Yep, got it.
There you
So I did send a couple of questions in through the link through the email, but one of my questions was, have you ever thought of, and I know this is me as a non-writer asking you this, delving a little bit further into Stephanie's parents' relationship and making that maybe a little bit more humorous, or maybe tying it to an FTA somehow. That's just something I was kind of curious about, because we don't ever see the two of them really interacting very much. And I think that would be kind of funny.
You're right. That's absolutely true. And I hadn't thought about it quite in that way. Every now and then we see a little bit more of them, but we don't see them together. You're right. Okay. All right. We'll see what we can do. That's a very good point.
Okay, next question. Let's go to Mrs. Lloyd. What's your question for Janet?
Hi, Janet.
Hi there.
I was wondering, I hear things now and then about tours, and I was wondering what your thought was when you started seeing people were doing Stephanie Plum tours in Trenton and taking you to like different sites, and having your picture taken outside donut shops and police stations, etc. And what you must have thought when that happened.
Yeah, I thought it was great. In the beginning, that was, mostly in the beginning of the series. I would say the first maybe 6, 7 books. And it was just fun. And then, as happens from time to time, the character of the bird changed. I mean, it stayed the same in my books, but it's an evolving ethnic neighborhood. And so a lot of the Italian restaurants are no longer there. Although Italian, the bakery, Italian People's Bakery is still there. And so I think, I don't hear so much about people anymore doing it. And we don't have a lot of signings in Trenton like we did originally, but in the beginning, yeah, I mean, I love when there's reader participation like that, because that's what it's all about for me. It's about the communication. I love when I can, go out on tour personally and see the readers. I don't get a chance to spend a lot of time because, usually the lines are long, but I do get to say hello. And I love when they send pictures I love when people send pictures of them at the pool reading my book. You know, I loved when they were in Trenton and they were at the bakeries and they sent pictures in. So yeah, no, I think it's fun. I love it.
All right, let's go over to Karen next.
Hi, Janet. I love Lula. I think she's such a hoot. Who is the inspiration for her character?
For many of my characters, they come from people that I know, usually relatives who are horrified. With Lula evolved entirely differently. Lula started out in the first book as a hooker, and she was never intentioned to be anything other than that sort of placeholder in the first book that provided some information. But when I went to write the second book, she just stuck in my head and I just could not get over Lula. And so I decided to bring her in and give her a job. And she just grew with every book. She just got to be more important and more important in the series. And for me, Lula is about attitude. She isn't about size. She isn't about color. She's about attitude. And I have to now be very careful not to let Lula take over the book. She's probably my favorite character. I mean, I love writing the guys, you know, but Lula is the way that I bring in humor into the situation. Lula has the guts to do things Stephanie wouldn't do. She's not afraid to put her elbow through a window and break it so she can get into a house. She's just out there. I've given Lula every diet that I've ever been on myself. She's just larger than life. You know, I've given her all the hair colors that I wish I had the courage to have. I would love to have purple hair with sparkles in it. You know, Lula does it. She does all of that stuff. She wears whatever the heck she wants to wear. She's a big woman and she's beautiful because she's beautiful inside. She just, you know, she just lets herself go. She just lets herself hang out there. And she takes a lot of pride in herself. When I changed publishers, I got a new agent. One of the things he didn't totally understand about Lula was who Lula really was. And he said, well, you know, you're calling her a hoe. But the thing that I loved about Lula is Lula was proud because she knew she was a good hoe. You know, she was the best damn hoe she could be. And she knew that her customers got their money's worth. And I mean, and that was, I know it's a little out of the box because we don't usually think of it that way. I mean, but good for her, you know, no matter what it is that Lula does, she does the best she can. And she's proud of that. So Lula is the spot on. Yeah, she's the shining star of the series as far as I'm concerned.
If I can just share this with you, I'm a pastor's daughter. And so prison ministry was often a part of what him and my mom did. And they drug me along with them. And so I know someone who reminds me of Lula. And it's just, it's you know, you're so spot on as to her language, as how she refers to herself as a hoe. One of the ladies that I'm thinking of says to me all the time, she says, you know, I just hope nobody knows I'm a country hoe. I'm a country hoe from Louisiana. And that's where my parents are from too. And so when I started reading your series and Lula referred to her stuff that way, I was just howling. And I was at my mom's house and this lady was there. She's like, what are you reading? And I was like, oh, it's just really funny. I just, put it away, but I was laughing. And I said, I wondered if Mrs. Evanovich happened to know this woman or any of her friends. Because
no.
It's
I wish I did.
She is the sweetest thing. So thank you so much for bringing diversity and laughter and food. You know, I'm loving Stephanie's food from, you know, reading it and enjoying it as she's eating it, because, you know, I just walk by the food and it jumps on me. So I'm trying to, to not have COVID pounds. So I'm enjoying Stephanie's food vicariously.
Well, I have to tell you, every time I finish a book, they send me to the gym because there's so much food involved in it. And writing is so totally sedentary that, and I spend long hours at writing because I'm a slow writer, and I keep myself going with food and, you know, a glass of wine, a bag of chips. I got through the first 10 books on Cheetos. When I was done with a book, they would have to trade in my keyboard because it would be all gummed up with doodle dust. And so I mean, I can actually gain 15 pounds on a book. And then, you know, and then I hand the book in, and then, you know, they send me out to the gym, and I'm not allowed to eat cheese doodles anymore. And
Let's go over to Rhonda next. What's your question?
Oh, Janet, I'm just so excited. Thank you so much for letting me be here. I absolutely love your books, but I had an idea. We're talking about Lula. Lula and Grandma Mazur need a little novella, something like for Valentine's Day or Halloween or something like that, where they have their own little adventure together. That would be so amazing. Have you ever thought about doing anything like that?
that would be not exactly in that form, but there have been a couple times when I've paired them up. There was a time when they belonged to a rock band together, and that was a lot of fun. So, you know, Lula and Grandma Mazur are really, you know, kind of two peas in a pod.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really hit it, because they both are women who pretty much do what they want and are happy with it. So so I think that would be fun. I'm actually right now, this is supposed to be a secret, so none of you guys can tell anybody about this. But I'm supposed to be finishing up writing the next Plum book, but they wanted me to do a little short story that's just about Ranger. And yeah, and I'm not going to tell you where that's going, because, you know, like, I'm not supposed to be talking about it, but it's going to be.
We won't tell anyone. Don't worry.
Yes, no, I know. You guys can keep a secret. I know. It's just between us. So it's going to be something that you something new with Ranger, and it's just going to be his little short story. It's not going to be real big. I think they're going to use it as some kind of a promotional thing, and I think it came about because my agent likes Ranger, and wanted a story about Ranger, and it came up with this scheme to get me to write a story about Ranger. So
that was actually my original question I was going to ask you about.
He only said babe.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Janet.
All right, let's go over to Shelley next.
Hi there, Janet. I love Stephanie, but my favorite character you've written about is Alex and Hooker. Are we going to see anything more Motormouth or any of stories from them?
You know, I don't know. I mean, that's the problem with, like, you know, if I could clone myself, I'd be real happy. I have all these little short series that I've done that I just can't seem to find time to squash them into, you know, into my schedule. But, and, you know, that came about because I'm a big NASCAR fan. And so I wanted to write something about NASCAR. And I managed to get a couple books, and then my daughter Alex and I, she goes to all the tracks with me, we decided to do the graphic novel, which I thought was fun, and I would love to do more of those, but it's just very time consuming. But I haven't got any more planned at this time. Sorry. I would like to.
And what about any movies?
You know, I would love to see, when I write, I see these stories as movies. They walk around in my head. and I really see them as television shows and movies. And I just haven't had a lot of success at having that become a reality. We had the one movie which had a certain amount of success, and actually I thought Katherine Heigl I really liked her as Stephanie Plum when she put on the dark wig. I just thought she did a great job, but nothing more ever came of it. I would love to see a television show. I'd love to see Wicked on television. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'd love to see Stephanie. I'd love to see, the Barnaby series, mostly, because I am a NASCAR fan and I love cars. I've given, all the Porsches that I've ever driven to Ranger. So.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over to Deborah Lindsay next.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. I'm just so thrilled to be talking to you tonight. I want to know how you get your inspiration for the comical parts. Does it happen to you, or how do you come up with that?
That's the easy part for me. The serious part is the hard part. I have, I think, people who do comedy, just everything seems to have a comic component for us. And I've heard other comics talking, Seinfeld saying, he sees comedy in everything. I'm always the person who's laughing at inopportune moments. I go way beyond being politically incorrect, because I can be at a funeral and find humor in it. So what I have to do is kind of rein myself in on the comedy so that I have some diversity to the book. I think it's just a part of me. It's where I stand in the world. 99% of the world is standing over here, and all those people are looking at something, seeing one thing, and I'm standing over here and I'm seeing something entirely different. And so I think it's just a way of looking at things that I look at them differently.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Keep
BS
writing.
Jackie next.
Hi, that's me.
Yep.
Oh, great. Hi, Janet. Glad to meet you. My dad has been gone nearly 10 years now, but your series has lasted so long that he used to listen to them, and he had a long commute to work, so that I read them, he listened to them, and he loved Lula, and we would talk about something funny that Lula said, and I would see him laugh. So you've got a reader forever. As long as you read, I will always read the book, because when I get to a funny part about Lula, I will laugh, and in my mind's eye, I will see my dad laughing. So I am not an Audible book listener. I like to read, but do you have anything to do with the voices and the people who do your audio books of these series?
Yeah, I do now. In the beginning, when you first start out, you haven't got a lot of power. When you become successful, you have a little bit more. And in the beginning, we had a lot of different readers, mostly because they would hire somebody, and then she would be an actress and she would go off to do another job, and then they would have somebody else. But we have Lorelei King now, and I love Lorelei, and I have her reading everything that I possibly can, because I just think she's, people get used to hearing it, and she's the voice of Stephanie now to a lot of people. She's been doing it for so long. And she's become a very close personal friend. We get to see each other every now and then. She actually lives in London. So, but she comes to the States to do recordings. And so whenever I have a choice, I always ask for Lorelei now. I like the consistency of it. I like the job that she does. I like her personally. But I also think that for readers, for listeners, that consistency is very important.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Carla Wilson next.
Okay, thanks for taking my call, Janet. I'm a big fan. I have to just tell you that when you were talking about how to rein things in and be concise, I'm one of those too that I think while I'm talking, and so I tend to ramble. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you writing the comical reprieve from everyday life is so wonderful. The only question I have is, I have to say the mother, Stephanie Plum's mother, and the snort she has to take just to deal with Stephanie and Lula. And I mean, not Lula, well, Lula, yes, but and Grandma Missouri, it just cracks me up. And it just, is that so common in the burg? As far as, I'm from the South, so not sure how the burg works in New Jersey, but is that very common to be like, I want to be known and acknowledged for being well liked in the neighborhood and, you know, prideful, and here she has this disaster of a family.
Yeah, no, that probably comes from my own family experience. I have been known to need to take a snort once in a while. And, you know,
Absolutely.
it's like you take away my bottle of wine. And I mean, you give me a bag of chips and a bottle of wine, and I am just so damn clever. I am funny, you know. So, yeah. And I have a disastrous day. I have been known to hit the cupboard in the kitchen. So, got it from my mom, I mean, my grandma Fanny, I started drinking at a very early age because my grandma Fanny would have these wonderful parties. She was from Denmark, because I'm second generation American. So we had a lot of relatives that came over, and we would have these big, huge family parties. And there would be a lot of drinking. And my grandma Fanny, my Aunt Rose, drank Manhattans. And so as a little girl, I mean, and I don't even know how old you know, probably starting maybe at the age of 4 or 5, as soon as I could reach the table, my cousin Sue and we would be emptying, you know, the bottoms of the glasses with the Manhattan. So I actually started at an early age.
I love it. That's great. Thank you again.
All right, let's go to Kim Hampton.
Hi, Janet. I just wanted to ask if you have like an ultimate plan for where you see the Plum series going, or if it's like how it will wrap up, or if that's still kind of always evolving.
I think it's always evolving. I you know, I have a real problem because I can't decide between the 2 men in her life. So you know, one day I decide, you know, it's going to be Ranger, and then I wake up and no, I think maybe it's Joe. So I kind of alternate them between books, but I haven't really any plans to end the series right now. I think probably, you know, someday I'm just going to have a heart attack and face plant into my computer. And then whatever I'm working on at the time, that'll be it.
Okay, let's do Abigail next.
Hi, Abigail.
Hi, I'm using my daughter's computer, so it says Abigail. My name is Kathy. But
oh, hi, Kathy.
anyway, I just love your writing. I mean, your book's just amazing. And you already answered the question about how far you're going to go with this series, because, you know, like Sue Grafton, she did A through Z and then quit. So it was like, oh man, we're at 28. I wonder if she's going to keep going. But now that you say, you know, you'll just fall over it. Okay.
Right.
But,
and in fact, we stopped, you know, we're sort of stopping using the numbers, you know, a couple books back. We went to just promoting the titles, because I started looking at the numbers and feeling old. I was like, I can't believe, you know, I'm on book 28 in the Plum series. That can't be. That's totally impossible. And then I got to thinking, okay, so she was 30, 28 years ago. It was just horrifying. It was like, you know, Stephanie and I are just not aging. I just decided a long time ago, we weren't going to go there. We're going to stay at whatever age we wanted to be. And so, yeah, so at a couple of years ago, I said, you know, I can't deal with the numbers anymore. We're just going to have to switch over to titles because, you know, I had visions of myself trying to rhyme a title with like 97, you know, and it's just not good.
Well, I want you to know that I teach developmental reading in college, and I have so many students who come to me that, number one, they have a difficulty reading and they hate reading. And, you know, I don't want to give them a little baby book or anything. So I've introduced them to you, and we have like a little book talk and everything. They absolutely love it. So
that's great.
So.
And you know what, thank you. I mean, and that's what it's all about. It should be fun.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, there's a lid for every pot. And so there are all different kinds of books, and they're the Oprah books and the cathartic reads, and they're the very serious things. And that's just not my job. I'm the happy author. And I write books that make me happy, and I want to make my readers happy. And I want people to know if they're having a bad day, it's probably not as bad as Stephanie's, and she can get through it. So we can all, you know, kind of march on. And, you know, I don't have visions of changing the world, but I do like the idea that I can make people smile for at least a couple minutes, and that people can read my book and be pretty comfortable with knowing that I'm not going to kill any cats and dogs. You know, the book is going to end well. There's going to be some smiles in between, even if some, you know, horrific things are happening. And I try to make those things happening off stage, so that we're not overwhelmed with violence. I mean, we see enough of that every day in real life and in the news. It's not good out there, you know. So that I feel like that's my calling, that to, you know, to do the happy book, to do the book that gives people a little break from whatever might be a misery in their day.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So we have
job.
time for one last question, I believe. That one quick, one more.
Yep, let's go with Allison.
Hi, Allison. Oh, where'd Allison go?
No?
Hi.
There we go. Oh, good, good. I'm from New Jersey. Yay. I already ate 2 cookies. They were delicious. Thank you, Cheryl's. And thank you, Janet. My question is, I know you said you can't decide on which guy, but if you had to go out to dinner tonight, because I know you're 3 hours behind, so you still have dinner, would you go tonight with Joe or Ranger?
I'd probably go with Ranger.
All right, I'll take Joe.
See, it works out perfectly. It
Yes.
works out perfectly. But, you know, but if you ask me that question tomorrow, it could be a different answer. So, and
Yes,
then there's
that's why.
Diesel. And then there's Diesel, you know, and then there's the new guy that, you know, you haven't met yet. So,
Ooh.
yes,
Looking
we have
forward to it.
a lot of dinners, but tonight it's Ranger.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that gives us a lot to think about as we end this amazing night. Janet, we want to thank you so much for answering all our questions and for being here and for being so much fun and for all your work. We just love it all. And thank you all for being with us tonight. This was really great. We hope you join us again and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you again.
Thanks.